So I was asking about what your background was, where you came from, and you said this. I was born the third out of 4 kids into a modest family. We lived on a small farm in southern Illinois, where we had some heads of cattle as well as a little amount of agricultural land. It was there that I developed my love of the outdoors and shooting and hunting. I was always very interested in firearms, as my grandmother on my mom's side was a Marine, my grandfather on my mom's side was a Marine. He was probably the reason I had become a Marine, which we're going to find out that you joined the Marine Corps. And he had fought on the island of Tarawa and Saipan too, I believe. He had a small shop in town where he sold guns and other knickknacks. I was thinking, besides, like, what do you sell? Guns and like ramen noodles? What's going on there?
Zippo lighters.
Zippo lighters and ramen noodles. It's like a country store where you happen to have 12 gauges in the back.
And a plug of tobacco.
Yeah, and he also sold some food as well.
Check. So you can get a hamburger and a 9 mil. You say my younger brother and I would go to work for him almost every day during the summer, and then one day he just decided he was going to retire, so we had a big auction where he sold, I don't know, let's just say somewhere in the neighborhood between 400 and 500 or so firearms, as well as some other stuff that he acquired over the years, but I don't recall anything other than that. You say I was also in the Scouts, where I had obtained the rank of Eagle Scout, which would pay off for me in the very near future as I was promoted to E2 right out of boot camp.
Congratulations.
You put in a lot of work to make Eagle Scout and just get E2 out of it. That's harder work than going to college, and those people get a commission.
Which is just an 8 month, 8 months later you get advanced. So,
which back in those days meant around $150 a month raise, which was a lot. So what about you, Joe? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Arkansas, small town, 556 people. Definitely country living. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What'd your parents do?
So my dad didn't really do a whole lot of work outside of, he was retired from a Caterpillar tractor company, and my mom worked for she does like used cars.
How many brothers and sisters?
I got one brother. He's older.
And what sports were you playing growing up?
So I played baseball.
Any good?
I was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty decent. I liked it. But as I got a little bit older, I figured out I could do work instead of play baseball, and fund some beverages for the weekends and pay for gas so I could go dirt roading with my friends.
What kind of car did you have?
I had my first vehicle was a 1979 Chevy Love. I traded a horse for it.
That little orange. Tiny truck?
Yeah. I had a Mitsubishi motor in it. The hood opened backwards like a Corvette. Had big buckshot mutters on it.
Elliott, first vehicle. What was it? Maybe he had some kind of a pimp car, like a Camaro or something like that.
Yeah. It's a Chevy. S10. I was close.
Oh, there you go. That's
not a Ranger.
That's the Chevy's version.
Yeah. Well, that's actually the version ahead of my Chevy Love. The next thing was an S10.
The 1985 Chevy S10 Blazer.
Check. That's a womanizing vehicle right there, bro. How did you find out about so you didn't, I know you end up joining just the regular Navy.
Yes.
Did you know you wanted to be a Seabee?
No.
Okay.
No. So I was, post high school, small town.
Was white? Check.
So small town Arkansas, there wasn't much future there. Uh-huh. So you either, get out of high school and just go to work at a local whatever company and stay there, and I didn't want to do that. So I knew the Navy was a way to get out of there and go do something. And I had read some books about the SEAL teams, and that was something that was pretty interesting to me. But at the time, I just needed to get out of the town. Mm-hmm. And I was doing construction, so kind of the easy translation was the Navy Seabees.
Yeah, the Seabees is a great job for people to get, and a great opportunity, and they had a cool job in the military too.
Yeah.
One thing that's cool about the Seabees is you get to do your job for real all the time. You're building stuff. So, all right, Elliott. So you obviously didn't know about the SEAL teams yet because you ended up joining the Marine Corps. You say this. So I joined the Marine Corps in 1996, straight out of high school as an infantryman, but I was actually just like a LAV crewman, light armored vehicle crewman. Went on 2 deployments to Oki, one in 97 and again in 99. But on number 2, I was the MEU platoon. So I got to go to Australia, South Korea, and the Philippines. No combat or anything like that. I mean, that was the Clinton era. That was me too. I did some time in the. I actually got the tail end of the first Bush. I joined in 1990. So, yeah, not a lot going on, but I'm sure there was some things going on in Australia and the Philippines.
From that smirk
for
yes.
Lance Corporal Corporal Elliott over here, Corporal Miller. You say then I got out of the crotch, which is a slang term for the Marine Corps. I got out of the crotch and moved back home, Southern Illinois, to go to college at SIU for just 1 year, but I couldn't stand not having to carry a weapon. So I got the harebrained idea that I would become an LAPD officer. How come you didn't want to become a local officer?
Because I wanted some action.
Yeah, that's true. I remember in the 90s, we would look at the LAPD. The LAPD SWAT team, the SEALs would work with them back in the day, and they were getting, they do a bunch of hits every month. So pretty good call. You figured that out. Back to what you were saying here. So I packed my shit along with a friend, and we set out for LA. Then along the way, and I mean that too, as we were driving through Arizona, those chicken fuckers flew into the World Trade Center. So almost immediately, I went into the recruiter's office there in Redondo Beach, and my original intention was to re-enlist in the Marines, but they told me that if I was to re-enlist, I would have to go back to E3. So I told them to get fucked. And walked right next door to the Navy and told them that I wanted buds and corpsmen too. So I had to go to Corps School in Great Lakes first, which was a joke, but I got that done and reported to buds in March of 2002 and finished in November that same year. Yeah, dude, that's right. No rollbacks for me. Made it through in one shot, huh? It's legit. So you must have been what, 24, 23?
24 years old when I graduated, buds.
Chuck. So that's probably average. I don't know. That's probably average because there's not many guys that actually graduate that are young. Mm-hmm. Most of the guys are like 23, 24, 25. I think those are the kind of prime years.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah. And so, but you, Joe, so that's what you did. So, Joe, you join the Navy, you go to boot camp, you end up in the Seabees.
Yeah.
And then how long did you spend in the Seabees for?
So about almost 6 years. So, because I went to Camp David, so I didn't really get into the full CB work like in a battalion. So I went to Camp David, worked for the president there, did that for 2 years.
What'd you do there?
So Camp David's 100%. Well, it's 99% military. So there's one person that comes and plays an organ, for church, but everybody else is military. So you maintain the whole facility.
Got it.
So I was brand new to the Navy, so I was the junior guy at the camp. So basically, all the young guys are mowing grass, and I got to go learn how to take care of a golf green. So I took care of the president's golf green. There's 2 of us, and there was only one green.
Dang,
seven tees.
What a weird way to kick off your Navy career, huh?
Really weird. But it was cool. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Looking back, it was a great time.
Yeah. And then from there, you went to a CB battalion?
So I ended up going to Guam. So I headed overseas and worked in Guam, and then from there back to a CB unit, and then to buds from there.
At what point did you make the decision that you were going?
So going to buds?
Yeah.
So early on, every day was a battle. Like, you love the Navy, you hate the Navy, and can't wait to get out. And then I realized, I was in the Seabees. I loved the Seabees, but I realized if I wanted to join the Marine Corps, I would have joined the Marine Corps. So, because they're very structured. And then I saw a SEAL platoon, and I'm like, ooh, I like, you knew what SEALs do because you read the books. But when you actually see them, you're like, wow, you guys are grown-ups. They treat you like grown-ups. You talk to each other like grown-ups. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Check.
So then I was at Self-Help, which is a CB base or CB job in Point Loma. And then I got my orders to buds from there.
And what class were you in?
244. So I was just behind Elliott a couple classes.
Right on. Any big challenges for you? Well, you're like a freaking stud athlete.
I tried to be. Yeah.
You're being humble, but you're even like talking to Leif from Team 5. He's like, yeah, you'd go on they'd be doing an ocean swim. Team 5 would do an ocean swim, and you would do the ocean swim with no fins and still beat 90% of the people, which is totally ridiculous. That's like being on a motorcycle versus a bicycle. And he said, and anyone that you didn't beat or anyone that beat you on the swim, you just destroy them on the run. Yeah. And where did you do triathlons or something?
I did. Yeah. So I did. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working out, and that was just kind of part of my life, post small town living. And, once I got in the military, I'm like, I enjoy this. I realized I'm actually kind of good at it. So you didn't start that until you didn't run track or cross country in high school or anything? No swim team, nothing like that? Well, so I was on a track team in high school for a short amount of time, but I was a fat kid. So we weren't, I wasn't out crushing it. So matter of fact, our town, remember I told you, it's 556 people. One of the, so we didn't even have a track. Yeah. So I got on this track team. I don't know how I got on it. And we had there was a little road just by the school that we would go run our track on, but there was a little restaurant there. So I would go over there and just sit and eat ice cream at this little store. I wasn't even running. And then I had this big event. It was the mile, and I was going to run the mile, and I'm sitting on the bus, track meets are all day long. You're sitting there, and I'm just sitting on the bus waiting for my time to go. Well, I ended up getting in a fight with a kid. So I punched him in the face. Then the coach wouldn't let me go run my one event. So that was my whole track career. So I ended up, not running track. But, to be fair, as I got a little bit older in high school, I did not like being overweight. So I figured out real quick, if I go run, it was helping me manage that weight and get into some sort of shape. And then it became something that I don't know if I just internally challenged myself, but it became easy. And then when I did eventually run with people in the Navy, I was like, wow, these people are slow. I didn't know I was fast. I thought, wow, these people are slow. And then I realized actually, was a pretty decent runner. It's more of a natural thing.
So was Buds, what challenged you in Buds? Like if you're good at running and swimming, that's real nice.
Yeah, it was real nice. Well, yes, and then because I ran so much, lower extremity injuries I was not prone to those, so I didn't. I had no issues. I thought Buds was, well, for me coming from the Seabees, had a good work ethic to start with. I just remember, just laying in the water and people quitting and thinking, well, I'm getting paid to do this. Yeah. And I could see where I just came from across the bay there in Point Loma. I'm like, I'm not going back to that. So, I did not think Buds was that hard. I think if I was to boil it down, the hardest challenge for me and Buds was the dirty name. And that was something I got over real quick. Yeah. I cracked some ribs on it to start with. I didn't understand it. But after that, I thought Buds was fun.